so many characters in Star Wars. There are so many characters in Marvel.
I'm
Um,
interested to see what he does more than
get
I'm just
myself
interested in
positioned
that
here.
this exists, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he got his list of rules from both Lucasfilm and Marvel that he had to adhere to. He gave them a pitch. Then about a month later, he sent them the outline for all 5 issues. He said they loved the outline, and I started right away writing the story. It's fun because he specifically talks about like the challenges that you have to run into when you're writing a crossover like this. He said it was an adorable conversation with the editorial folks because they're like, look, let's be honest, there are no small matters. Can a lightsaber cut through Captain America's shield? Can a lightsaber cut through Wolverine's claws? Can a lightsaber cut through the Hulk? The same? And then within the parameters of the story, what is actually possible? He says there are rules, man. Notes I received were wonderfully nerdy. Notes like an explanation of how the Empire gets on the Tantive by virtue of this Imperial craft, call it the docking shuttle. This is what it looks like, even though you didn't see it in the movie. This is how it would have functioned.
Interesting.
Well, yeah, because we don't see the docking. We don't see what
Well, we
happens.
kind of, I mean, we see
A
getting
little bit.
drawn into the, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then Vader appears. That's all we need to know.
That's all you need to know. Kevin Smith did refuse to spoil anything about the number of characters even involved, just that it's a huge story. But he's focusing mostly on things
Connecting on my
related to the movie
desktop.
for the 50th anniversary because he wants to honor that. He also did tease that Greedo is going to have a bigger role in his comic, and that there'll be a confrontation between Princess Leia and Iron Man.
Interesting.
Yes, and he said the plan is for the first and the final issue of the series to be longer than the standard.
Yeah, I'm
issue.
not interested between a Marvel Star Wars crossover.
Well, it's exciting too to have the
I
first
don't
issue
I don't
be
trust
longer
Kevin
than
Smith
the begin,
can land
and
that
the last
plane.
issue being longer gives you a full finale.
Yeah.
And like,
Yes.
I don't
I'm
think
just
Kevin Smith can land
easier.
that plane.
or that.
And for the last crossover, there was a crossover rumor floating around, but it was a different crossover. And this was floating around right before news of the comic became full blown. That Star Wars and Marvel were going to do a crossover Lego set. It's allegedly going to come out in 2027 with set number 75481, the Iron Falcon.
Oh boy.
Because the rumored minifigs are Iron 3PO, War 2D2,
No,
Spider-Han,
no,
Captain Alderaan, which
No.
is Leia, and Hulk Baka.
no,
Oh god. Oh, god.
no,
Yes.
no.
That's
I
also a
don't know what I say
rumor.
about that. Whatever.
Where's Luke's?
Where is Luke?
Where's Luke?
Would Luke's equivalent in Marvel be?
Well, they've taken a lot of the good characters.
I mean, Luke and Captain America seem, I don't know.
So you've already got Captain Alderaan, so you can't do two captains.
But yeah, I can do two captains. She could be like
What if
Captain
she's-
Marvel or Captain
But she's
Britain.
not Captain Marvel. She's clearly Captain Alderaan, Captain America.
No, we can't do that.
Luke Widow?
No.
But why
There's
not?
no way it would be. He's not like a trained assassin. He's the opposite, actually.
And Spider-Han makes sense?
No, I didn't say it did.
Okay.
Actually, it doesn't at all.
No, because he's not Spider-Man.
Well, no. That's all we got for this time. Your turn. Take to the comments below. Tell us what you think of any
Yeah,
and
that's
all of
goofy.
today's crazy news. Are you going to read this?
So
Marvel
the
Star Wars
crossover is going to be
crossover?
canon and Marvel
Or
comics,
SPD,
but not
leave those
canon
comments
and
below.
Star
Love
Wars
some
comics.
Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.
Yeah, that's goofy.
Leave a comment. What was your favorite Tim Curry role?
Whether it's earning awards for a free Love's coffee or fountain drink,
I can pull this off.
or saving you from a wardrobe disaster.
So I want to say rest in peace to several people that died this week. So I already mentioned Dolly Parton a few days ago, but then also James Liu, not well known outside of martial arts circles, but within the martial arts community, he's very well known, is a phenomenal martial artist. And, you know, he appeared in a lot of those lower budget movies, you know, action flicks in the 80s and 90s. But he's a really good martial artist. He was often the go-to bad guy. Like usually not like the main bad guy. He was usually like one of the flunkies or whatever who was really intimidating in those scenes in which he played. So he passed away. he was in quite a few movies. I think one of the well-known ones is Big Trouble in Little China, but he was in a bunch of, like martial arts and like low-tier action flicks in the 80s and 90s. So rest in peace to James Liu. Then there was Tim Curry, who got big from the Rocky Horror Show, whatever you call it, where he was dressed up in drag. I never watched it because obviously that's not something I'm into watching. But the Rocky Horror whatever show was well known. Me and Tim Curry became big off of that. But he was in many other things too. What's up, Carlton? He was in Clue. He played the character Darkness in that 80s movie Legend, which was like one of Tom um, Cruise's first roles, like earliest roles, I should say. And obviously, he played Pennywise the clown in the It that came out in TV on TV back in the day. Uh, so there was Tim Curry, Dolly Parton, James Liu, and the one the one for me personally that hit the hardest was Robert Cullen, the voice of Optimus Prime. He was like the voice of like 20 different characters back in the 80s and 90s. I would say more like he's probably voiced over like 30 different characters in his career. Um, the biggest one obviously being Optimus Prime. So knowing that the voice actor of Optimus Prime died, kind of make me sad. Um, that low key pretty made me sad because it's part of my nostalgia uh, of the 80s was hearing Robert Cullen's voice. He often appeared at comic book conventions, um, where he would do he would sign autographs for people. People would listen to hear his voice. Like I say, he wasn't also just the voice of Optimus Prime. He did a lot of characters from Thundercats, Silverhawks, uh, He-Man, anything from the 80s and early 90s. His voice was probably involved. So a lot of legends has been passing away lately. Yeah, that is true. But like I said, Robert Cullen hit me the hardest because he played the voice of Optimus Prime, and for most little kids growing up in the 80s, like myself, Optimus Prime was basically robot space dad. Let's be honest. He taught us morals and compassion. He sounded like someone's dad. He was definitely robot space dad. To whenever you heard his voice. So kind of sad that Robert Cullen passed away. Um, Now, since I've talked about that again, rest in peace to Robert Cullen, Tim Curry, Dolly Parton, James Liu. And with that, I'm gonna get on with these shows. And then we can chat as well, of course. So with that, I'm gonna look at this sci-fi video from the Sci-Fi Channel, talking about Peter Cullen. the voice of Optimus Prime from the Transformers.
But I don't want the needles to be too
I'm losing my
big.
voice. I'm gonna drink some water.
Go off, it's gonna get kind of baggy.
Although baggy is very
Peter Cullen, the voice actor best known for bringing Optimus Prime to life in Transformers, has died. ABC News reports he passed away on August 26th at his Los Angeles home, according to his agent Kevin Motley. No cause of death was given. In a statement from the family published by the outlet, they say, quote, Peter Cullen passed away peacefully, surrounded by his loving family, and held in the hearts of his many friends and countless fans worldwide. The statement continues, his family asks that you honor his remarkable legacy by serving your communities and leading others with compassion, integrity, and loyalty. And always remember, be strong enough to be gentle. That final quote included in the statement is one that Cullen previously shared was said to him by his brother when he was first auditioning to be the voice for Optimus Prime.
I was living with my brother Larry, who was a Marine, and I said, I'm going to an audition. I'm going to be a truck. And he started laughing. He said, a truck? And I said, this is a leader. This is a hero. And his demeanor just changed. He just went, oh, Peter, if you're going to be a leader, be strong enough to be gentle.
Cullen voiced the iconic character in multiple projects dating back to the
Optimus.
1980s, starting with the animated Transformers series. Nearly 2 decades later, he
Is
would
that better?
join the live-action films.
This is better.
Samuel James Witwicky, descendant of Archibald Witwicky.
I think this is better.
Yeah.
My name is Optimus Prime.
Among the more than 200 credits listed on IMDb, Cullen also was the voice behind beloved character Eeyore in many Winnie the Pooh movies and shows, as well as characters in Knight Rider and Chippendale Rescue Rangers. Peter Cullen died at the age of 85.
Oh, so also rest in peace to Samuel Monroe Jr. He starred in Menace to Society and Tales from the Hood. I'm not familiar with whom that. I will probably remember his face, but I don't remember his name. King B is funny as hell. So 85 years was a good run. Yeah, 85. But let's be honest, like, you know, whenever an old person dies, we can say they had a full life, but it's like, I always feel like they could have lived longer, right? So,
I'm bad.
To do that.
This is an old acquaintance of mine from my previous life before you, baby.
So why you saying it was the Amazon worker?
I'll admit this, but I was nervous.
I snapped the fire out your ass.
So I already told him I can't have company.
You damn right you can have no company, because your ass is on punishment.
First, are you gonna speak up for yourself?
What part of he can't have company don't you understand?
I'm sorry. Can I use the restroom?
I don't know, can you?
May I use the restroom because, like, when I use the bathroom at the Patriot gas station, my booty was itching for like 2 weeks.
TMI. He's got a long ride back to this side of the hood, so you know why that.
Who told you this all?
damn. Damn.
Make it quick. Bernie, show me where the bathroom is. And put some pepper there. Don't you put that taste on my seat?
Why ain't no wait, right?
TP.
So sooner or later, definitely be obsolete. Yeah, I mean, aging is being treated as a disease in modern medicine.
Really
So
intense role play right now. And I'm not gonna lie,
I fully expect
I'm really into it.
to live a very, very,
Okay. If you
very
say so, bro.
long life.
All right, I'm kind of relieved about you being tender in these streets. Falling off the bone for these hoes.
Me? Tender? Come on, man. Them two words don't even go together unless it's the app. And you know, I'm swiping left and right on that mother.
Type shit, okay. Type shit. All right, so look, how long do you need?
So, about that, I'm not gonna go today.
You was not coming?
Listen, I'm not gonna go because I got show booty, and I don't want to lose the for show booty for some maybe booty.
Do you even hear yourself, nigga? You always put stuff on the line for some show booty, for some other booty.
Well, that was the old me, all right? New me only wants my baby Johnny booty, okay?
Virgil, it's time to tell your little friend he needs to leave.
I agree. Game on.
Since when you call me? Go get named. Virgil Monte?
Virgil, he needs to leave now.
I agree. Get your head off this shit.
A few moments later.
Some people, right? They old honey don't get it.
Yeah. So you was looking at booty before me?
Yeah, well, you're the only booty I see.
Get upstairs and rub my feet.
Yes, my lord. Mama, you use salt this time?
Lavender oil.
Throw that for nonsense. I got too much all in my conscience. Hey, holding my oxygen. The carbon around me is toxic. Hey, stack up the Washington and move.
So I'm gonna watch random stuff, brother. But you know, like I said a few days ago, if you have a preference, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just gonna watch like random stuff. Uh,
Don't let a mountain of POs get to you. You've got Gemini Enterprise. Ooh, agents handle that. Vendor charging 30%
Also,
over
is the
contract.
blue light disturbing?
Once
Should I
they see
should
you
I make that
stressed
white
out,
light
they'll finally
or
see
just
you.
turn it off?
Okay, team. America's energy security is on thin ice. Over. You have served with somebody on this list before. These are the 8 people that everyone hates in the military.
I might be one of
I'm
them.
trying to think. I'm just sitting up here judging.
I might be
people.
one of them.
I'm secretly like 2 people on this list.
Yeah, I might be one of them.
Technically 3. Matter of fact, I
The
want
blue
y'all
light
to
is
put in the
cool.
comments
All
as you
right.
go through which one y'all think I am.
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna let y'all know, but I want to see.
I
what
just
y'all
wanted
think.
to see because the white light
First one,
wasn't
this is
blending.
the one I hate the most. The stinky guy.
I'm not the
This is
stinky
somebody,
guy.
You walk
Okay, I'm
into
not
a
the stinky
room
guy,
And they
good.
blow your nostril off. You like, who is smelling like that? Smelling like a ball sack.
That's
You
infantry.
blew your nostril off.
That's
And what's
infantry.
worse is being a supervisor to this person. You ain't had no supervisor dilemma.
The
It's
stinky
you
guy
gotta
might
say
be the
truth.
infantry
And
guy.
You gotta tell somebody they stink. A grown person pull them to the side and be like, hey, you know you stink, right? I used to do like mass odor check briefings. I'll bring everybody into a room and I'll be like, one of y'all stink. I know who it is. Don't make me correct you. You need to fix it. If it ain't fixed by tomorrow, I'm gonna pull you to the side and I'm gonna write you paperwork for smelling like ass. You don't
Yeah, I had a
know
sergeant
you
once give
stink.
someone a
I'm
paperwork
pretty sure
because
I
he kept
figured
looking
out
at
what
people's
was
dicks in the
during
latrine.
COVID-19.
I'm not.
So
I
during
lied to you
COVID-19,
not.
all the kids
He
had
was like,
training.
it was funny because he was telling us.
They
He was like,
quarantined
dude.
into these dorms, right?
He was like, dude, do you know how? He said, do you know how uncomfortable it is that I have to write up another grown man
They had to wash their clothes
because
I
he's
remember
looking at
having them all in the
other
laundromat,
men's
right? And I was
dicks
like, all of y'all
in the
got a Tide
latrine?
Pod? Put your clothes in the washer. When the washer's done, put them in the dryer. After I
Because
gave
we used
them
to make fun of
instructions,
him.
everybody sitting around looking at each other like,
So-
I just told them a calculus problem.
Let me pause. So when we were in Germany, that's when he wrote him up, and it was messed up because the NCO in charge was only an E5. Like he's barely an NCO, and he's the highest ranking person on our team with us in Germany. And he's like, yo, you know how because everyone else was like an E4, E3, E2. I was the lowest ranked one. I was an E2. Everyone was E3 or E4, and he was only E5. And so because the dude was so weird, the sergeant was like, look, this is gonna be an order. I need you to guys, next time y'all go back out, y'all go downtown to I forgot what's the name of the city we was in. can't remember, but it's where Miss Needle knows about. Okay, I don't want to give her whereabouts of where she lives, but it's a city of which she's very familiar. And Stuttgart, sorry, Stuttgart. So he said next time we go downtown Stuttgart, bring him with us and let him get some ass so he would chill the hell out. Because we had told the Sarge that the last time we was down there, we found a brothel. He was like, next time y'all go down there, bring him with you. Get him to chill the hell out because I don't want to have to write him up again. So we brought him there. He went to the brothel and we even paid for his entertainment. And he came out like 15 minutes later. He was happy. He wasn't giving anyone. I guess he needed that. He needed that post nut clarity because he was chill afterwards. We was like, damn, you already done? Like literally, like he was only up there 15, 20 minutes. He came back downstairs. He came back downstairs with a smile on his face, and it was cool the rest of the trip. So I don't know what she did for him, but it worked. All right, let me get back to the video.
And I'm like, did y'all hear me wash your clothes? One of the trainees, they got the courage, they raised their hand and they were like, sir, I don't know how to use a washing machine. I was like, you don't know how to use a washing machine? I say, go show of hands, who doesn't know how to use a washer? I swear to God, y'all, like 90% of those kids' hands went up. And I was like,
I didn't mean to press that button. Press the wrong button. But it just that kind of defeats the notion that everyone in the Air Force is very smart. They don't even know how to use a fucking washing machine.
Liberty Mutual helps you customize and save hundreds.
Because I was originally going to enlist in the Air Force,
I don't think they know
but
how
I
to play
couldn't.
tennis.
When I found out they can't hold the job for you while you go to training, I was like, let me try the Army instead.
Sunny on
And
the
that's what
outside.
happened. Then the Air Force tried to hold up my paperwork for the Army,
Simple Mills. The feeling
but they couldn't do that because I never swore my oath. I didn't swear my oath yet, so the Air Force didn't have me.
went up. And I was like, that's
Luckily,
the problem. That's where these things
because I'm an Army guy.
Y'all know how to wash
Through
our
and through.
clothes. Dirtiest dude I ever met, like while in the Air Force, it was during a deployment. This dude was so dirty. He was a jet engine mechanic, right? One of the days he went into one of those engine compartments, he got some oil on his ear. So for like the next week, his oil was still on his ear. We were like, hey bro, you take a shower? He's like, yeah, I took a shower. And we were like, I don't think you took a shower, bro. Like, he had an oil stain on his ear until he left that deployment. It was dirty.
Ew.
He stank so bad, y'all. Like, when he came around, we used to cover up our nose. Like, we had these headphones. Matter of fact, I got the headphones.
So what happened is these guys probably are taking showers, but they don't know how to thoroughly wash
like this, right?
themselves.
When this dude come around, we'd turn the headphones like this. And he'd always be like, what y'all doing there? Why y'all do that every time I come around? We like, bro, you stink. He stank so bad, y'all. Like, he was so dirty that when he went back home, he changed the whole rules of the desert. Like, before him, we could just leave. We'd tidy up our room, and then they'll turn it over to the next person, come and get your room, no issue. Because of him, they made a whole checklist of things that need to be done before you leave, or how he left his room. He was so dirty, y'all. The bed he slept in had a print of him. It was a dirty print of just somebody. He had old milk bowls, like spoiled milk. It was dirty dude. Ugh. They took pictures of it and sent it back home. And made a whole
This
checklist,
dude's
do
just
not leave your
living
room like this. Because of him, it's dirty.
living his La Vida
Nobody likes
Loca.
to sleep together.
That's nasty.
All right,
The
next
brown
person,
nose.
You got the brown nose.
I'm not the brown
this
nose.
Is the person, they always got their hand up. They always volunteer before they even know it.
Nah, in the Army, I knew never volunteer for shit. They told us that in basic training. Never volunteer for shit.
And the joke is not funny, but they feel like if I laugh hard,
I'll brown nose, but I'm not volunteering for shit.
Brown nosing does not work, y'all. I'm telling you, even your commanders don't like a brown nose.
It's true. In the Army, back in basic training, they said don't be that guy. Don't be the one volunteering for shit. I learned that in basic training.
I did the whole 9 trying to get noticed. And when it came time for me to get a stratification, I did not get the stratification. All the brown nosing I did, it did not help. I was so mad at myself. I was like, man, I didn't have to do all of that stuff. I'm in the same position I would have been if I didn't do it. So take it from somebody who tried it. Brown nosing does not work. And nobody likes it.
Black
around here,
military
so it's not
guys
working.
stay going
Don't do it.
in on people. Nah, I mean, yes,
next one
but
is the
look,
wood
white
chaser.
white dudes do
Not that kind of
too.
wood, y'all. I'm talking
Like
about
it was like when we like I was talking about the guy that had to get counseled for looking at people's dicks in the latrine. You know, the white dudes was was talking bad about him too. Like one of the guys, he was like, "I wish he would look at my cock." He said, "I'm gonna pull it right out and be like, yeah, I wish he would look at it." I was like, "I'll beat the shit out of it." I was like, "Yo," it was funny. It was funny. He didn't stare at me, but my homeboy, he said he looked at his dick, and one of the other guys said he looked at his dick. I think two or three guys all complained, and that's when the NCO the, the NCO had to step in and counsel him for it. Like I think it was an informal counsel, so maybe he didn't write it up, or after he wrote it up, he may have tore it up afterwards, as long as he didn't do it again. But again, that's why he told us to take him out to downtown Stuttgart with us and let him get some pussy at the brothel, so he would chill out, which actually worked.
plaques, trophies, awards, all of that stuff. There's people who their whole mission while they're serving is to win as much as they can. They're gonna do whatever they can to. So like at tech school or AIT, they have an award you can win. You can win distinguished.
See, that's nothing wrong
You
with
go
doing
to
that.
NCO Academy, you got awards you can win.
There's
So
nothing
like,
wrong with
I'm
doing
winning.
that.
And the problem
I don't see that as
is
brown nosing.
everybody can tell that they're trying to win. They got a new name for it now. I don't think they call them wood chasing no more. They call them tryhards. So if you're Gen Z or beyond, you probably know them as a tryhard. But the old school dudes, they call them wood chasers. Now secretly, I'm very competitive. I like winning. So anytime there's something to be won, in my head, I'm winning it. And I'll be honest.
I didn't care. To be honest, I didn't care about winning the awards
and
in training.
It wasn't my fault. I had a supervisor.
I didn't care about winning the awards in
My
training.
supervisor asked me, "Hey, are you gonna try to win anything? You gonna try to win distinguished grad or anything like that?" I was like, "No, I'm just gonna go." And she was like, "You trying to get promoted, aren't you?" I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Well, you ain't gonna get a promotion without an award like that." I was like, "You really think so? You think I need to get an award from NCO Academy to get promoted?" She was like, "Yeah. Like when you send your package up and you ain't got no awards in there, they're not gonna promote you." So when I went to NCO Academy, I went with the mindset that I'm winning. I was a wood chaser, but I won distinguished grad and I got promoted. So there's a benefit in being a wood chaser. It actually helps. Matter of fact, the way the military is going now, especially the Air Force, you gotta win something. If you ain't got no awards on your package,
That's good. That's not brown nosing though. Being a wood chaser is not. It's not. It's not a brown nosing. That's kind of
for
different.
that distinguished graduate award. They assess your grades.
I don't think we called it wood chaser in the
but they
Army
also
though.
have a peer assessment. You cannot get a distinguished grad without your peers backing you. And if your peers think that you're only there to be a wood chaser, they're not going to assess you high. You can't get the award.
I don't know if we called it wood
So
chaser in
like
the Army.
That's like a wood chaser barricade. Like you can't just win based off of your performance. You also got to get people to like you as well.
Grass-fed beef,
That looks good as shit.
everyday low price.
Can you see that?
It's an Aldi thing.
I can just search it.
Yeah, I
like
think
I
we had a
said.
different term
Yes,
for that
we
in the
grilled
Army.
your
But I don't
background,
know what they
AI
called it.
scrolling,
Maybe it was
skip
wood
the filters
chaser.
and scrolling and just find what you're looking for. But can I search it like I sing it? Well, you can.
But because I didn't know very many people who did that, I never really heard the term. So it may have been the same in the Army.
Welcome to
Because most of us didn't want to volunteer for anything.
Next one is a professional profile guy. This is the guy who's been on a permanent profile, probably before.
No, that definitely ain't me. I've never been on a profile for anything while I was in the service.
They don't do nothing. But then
No
you see
shaving
them post on
profile,
social media,
no.
them dragging a 500-pound board that they just hunted down, and they ain't got no problem with that. And they always get on the profile like right before a PT test or right before deployment.
It is always one of those guys, one of those profile dudes. Have a profile so they don't have to do PT or whatever.
We used to give them a heads up, like, "Hey, y'all, we're gonna be doing a mock PT test next week, right?" And you give him too much time, he'll show up with a profile, right? So one time we tried to surprise him. We tried to sneak them. So we didn't tell them we was doing a mock PT test until the end of the duty day, the day before. So it was like 1,800 at the end of the day. We were like, hey, we're doing a mock PT test tomorrow. Make sure y'all show up in PT gear. And we were like, there's no way he can get on the profile between now and then.
Shit.
So, I kid you not. I'm going to work.
He probably went straight to medical.
Stairs. We got this elevator. Nobody ever uses this elevator, right? I'm going up the stairs and I hear, ding. I'm like, what? Like, who's using this elevator? Elevator opens up. It's this dude, and he's on crutches.
Yo.
I'm like, there's no way, bro. There's no way you're on crutches. And he's like, oh, man, my ankle's been bothering me. Pissed me off, y'all. But you know what? The military has cracked down on this. They had so many professional profilers that they got rules now. Like
that's why Pete Hegseth is so. That's why people think of Pete Hegseth as a jerk. He knows military culture because Pete Hegseth was in the military as a career. He knows guys be doing that shit.
Is the Blue Falcon. Blue Falcon is like the nice word to call them, but it originates from a buddy. These are people who will snitch on you to save themselves.
Yes.
And they're everywhere inside the military.
Yes.
You need to be careful. Matter of fact, the biggest Blue Falcon example I had seen was in Herbertville, Florida, right? This was like 2009, maybe 2010. Y'all remember Spice? Spice was like a synthetic marijuana.
Yeah.
That if you smoked it, you could get high, but it wouldn't show up in your urine if you did a urinalysis. So there's a lot of people in the military smoking Spice as a way to get high without actually smoking marijuana. So back in like 2009, 2010, one of these guys, he got caught smoking Spice somehow. Right?
Used to sell at the gas station.
For an interrogation, and they were like, how many other people were smoking Spice with you? And he could have just been like,
they had all in the jails too.
But instead, he named like 16, 17 other people, and they all got taken down. Every one of them got taken down and kicked out of the Air Force for a drug that couldn't even be tested for because of this one Blue Falcon guy, right? You can't trust nobody. I'm telling you right now, your best friend will Blue Falcon you in the military for doing stupid stuff.
Then the solution is don't do stupid stuff, though.
All right, the next one is the exaggerated storytelling. So one thing about military people is they like telling their stories. I'm guilty of it. I be telling stories, right? But as they tell the story, you hear it one time, right? And then you hear it the next
I tell
time,
stories, but my shit ain't exaggerated. I just,
then you hear it
there's no need to. It's already funny.
Get to introduce you to the story, a new scenario. We had this one dude named James Gorman. I'm gonna drop his name because he was like a god, bro. But he would tell this story about how he was deployed. He was a jet engine mechanic, and he would tell all these crazy maintenance stories about how he fixed jets, right? And one of the stories he's talking about how he was flying on the plane and one of the engines went out. They were like, "We're going down. We need to save this plane." So he said that he climbed out through like one of the hatches on the plane, climbed onto the wing, went out there and did something to the engine to make it work again. I'm like an E3 hearing this story for the first time. So I'm like, what? Like you did that? I believe
Then
it,
you
right?
got
And then over the years,
the
he keeps
gang
telling the
banging
story and it
street
keeps
military
changing.
cat.
And I'm
I
like,
bet you he'll get to that next. That might be the next one.
The story's not real.
That might be the
He
next
said
one.
this
I
dude
knew
is still
guys
cool,
like that in the
That's why I
military
got
did
the
was
name. Because he told
straight
me,
off
like,
the
man,
street.
we
Like
was
we're
people
literally
that
gangbangers. Like
and this is old school people.
folk,
They didn't
crip.
sugarcoat stuff.
All,
I had got in
I
trouble
knew a
for
few.
something small. And
But to be
felt
honest, I
everybody
wasn't
was
mad at it
treating
because
all the leaders and stuff.
some of those guys
I
were
wasn't
trying to
gonna
get
do
away
that.
from
Like,
that
I
life
did it differently,
legitimately.
and I did it
Whereas
one
then
of
you
those
had a lot of
things
these
I felt
guys
everybody
in the
told me
National
to do.
Guard and the
So I go
reserves
to
that were
him,
still
and he was
banging
like, you
while
know
they
what,
were in the
bro?
military.
You could build
I
1,000
thought they were.
movies
I thought
and
they were
be
just
known as
absolutely
a
ludicrous.
crazy. But
Like,
you mess
how you go
around
into the
and
reserves
suck
and National
one
Guard
cock, and you gonna
and
be
you still
known as a
banging
cocksucker
or
for the
or,
rest
or
of the
selling
life.
selling dope?
Bro, the way he got there was different, but I'll never forget that. That's some real life advice. And then you got the smoke pit guy. Now this is the person that lives in the smoke pit. I honestly don't know if the smoke pits is still popping like they used to be. They used to go down in the smoke pit. But you would have these people who just stayed in the smoke pit all day. Anytime work needed to be done, you'd be like, where's such and such? They'd be like, did you check the smoke pit? These people know everything that's going on inside the squadron. Like they know more than the first shirt. They know more than the commander because they.
Yeah, some of these are Air Force terms.
But they're always
Wood
listening. You
chaser,
gotta go
smoke
track them
pit.
down. But one thing about the smoke pit guys is they're probably really good at their job. Like at least that's how it was when I worked on the planes. The best maintainers were always in the smoke pit. And I tried not to go get them. I tried to go fix things on my own. And I'd hate to go bother them in the smoke pit. But if everything else failed and we cannot figure it out, then I'd go to the smoke pit and be like, we need you, bro. And they'd always be like, all right, let's go. Oh, man, they used to go down in the smoke pit.
Jody. Oh shit, not Jody.
Is a Jody. I hate this one too because I ain't had nothing to do with this, y'all.
Everyone hates Jody.
I'm not the definition of a Jody. My daddy just named me Jody. It's crazy though.
Like his literal name is
Because
Jody.
of a Jody. A Jody is the person who come in and swoop on your wife or swoop in on your girlfriend while you're gone. They type of person to be like, hey, you need anybody to cut your grass? I can cut your grass. You need
Cut your
anybody
grass,
to
all right.
check your oil in your car,
Cut
check
your grass.
tires? I
Split
can
that
take care
ass.
of it. And then they start working their way in and start taking care of your girl a little bit more than you want them to.
Taking care of her like shit.
Y'all are marching and y'all singing all them Jodies, the I'm a steamroller baby, all of that stuff. The original Jody was, ain't no sense of going home. Jody took your girl and gone. That was the original Jody. So my dad did 22 years in the army, right? When he went to basic training, he had a little girlfriend. They used to sing that Jody every day. Ain't no sense of going home. Jody took your girl and gone. And he said he used to march around and be like, I don't know who this Jody is because it can't happen to me. So when he graduates basic training, he goes back home and his girlfriend is pregnant. And he's like,
shit.
How'd that happen? That couldn't have been me. So all his homeboys was telling him like, man, your girl, she wasn't your girl while you was gone. So it killed him and it hurt him inside. And he vowed on that day, he was like, if I ever have a son, I'm going to name him Jody. So this can't happen to him. So I'm a product of heartbreak, y'all. This happened. This ain't my fault. I did not ask for his name.
Oh,
now,
shit.
if you finish this video and you're like, I ain't never met that person in the military, then
You might be one of them.
You probably one of these people on the list, and nobody likes you. Now, these are 8 types of people that nobody likes in the military. But me, the military has made me also not like.
I don't really fit in any of those categories, to be honest.
Video about it, but like I always say, I hope this.
I would have been the quote unquote wood chaser, but
and until next time, check me out.
I didn't pursue awards.
There are trucks.
So
And then there's the 2026.
definitely wasn't a stinky guy.
It's the truck.
It was a Sunday night.
Alright, which one? I want to look at this. This looks like it might be funny.
Have you heard the term hag maxing? When I think of the term hag,
Yeah, there's a bunch of them on Hinge.
Cackling witch. But no, apparently now it means women above 30. The word's been spreading across social media, but what exactly does it mean? And is it describing an actual trend in dating? The term hag maxing may be confusing, and depending on the context you've heard it in, it could mean more than one thing. Oh, look at my little college map. As far as we can tell, the first few times it was used on the internet, it was in the context of becoming a hag or hag-like, playing on the popular slang suffix maxing. For example, it was used by this 4chan user who eagerly wanted to repel men, and this ex-user who posted a meme using the popular "you need to be blank maxing" copy pasta, starting with "listen, you need to be hag maxing," and then detailing more about this swamp inhabiting hag lifestyle.
I live in a swamp. I put up signs. I'm a terrifying ogre.
But the term has since evolved, and its new meaning started completely as a joke on 4chan. On May 21st, 2024, ex-user iHypocrite posted a screenshot of a fake Vice article that read, "Meet the Hag Maxers, Gen Z's new social trend of dating older women." The screenshot features a silhouette of a man labeled 20 years old and one of a woman labeled 37, with a blurb that claims Gen Z men are ditching casual encounters with Gen Z women for long-term relationships with millennial women, who I guess are now lovingly being referred to as hags. Later that day, an anonymous 4chan user claimed credit for creating the image, writing, "I made this fake article days
Just
ago,
like
and
I
it's
created the
actually
term
already
rice bunny, but
capitalizing on
I
it."
haven't
And it's
gotten any
true, once the
kudos
image
for
hit
that.
X, various media outlets
And
just took
it's
it
going to
down
cost
and
me some
ran with
money
it,
to copyright the
releasing
term,
articles apparently
the
reporting
trademark
on
the
this
term.
quote trend.
But I do plan on
iHypocrite's
doing
post
so.
eventually
No one
did receive a
knows
community
that
note informing
that
readers
I
that it's
created
fake,
that
and
term
several users
online.
admonished them for spreading false information, and others who engaged with their posts
But
for
I'm going to
everything they say
trademark
online.
rice bunny
Lab
because
Bible also amended
I
their
dare
article to
anyone to
inform what
find
actually
that term
happened. As the
anywhere
spread across
online
social
prior to
media, some
2011,
began to use it as
which
a
is
template
when
for
I
memes in which
originated
they
the term
pointed
in
out ATM
2011.
romances in fiction,
labeling the younger male characters hagmaxers. And like many things online that start ironically, the term soon became used in earnest to describe younger men dating older women. But is there actually a trend of this happening? While some other media outlets have since reported on this type of relationship being on the rise, it seems there isn't much actual data to support this. On September 30th, 2024, YouTuber Shoeonhead released a video titled The Cougar Epidemic, Young Men Dating Older Women. In the video, she reports on the so-called trend, using the term hagmaxing and providing commentary on why she thinks younger men would be seeking older women.
Why are all these young whippersnappers scooping up these older timepieces?
Her videos seem to cause a resurgence in the use of the term online and fueled discussion of this pseudo-phenomenon, with several other notable YouTubers making reaction videos to it, like Avid, for example.
Is this happening?
That's kind of funny. Again, I'm just gonna watch random stuff. I'm not gonna watch O'Shea do Jackson all throughout this, because people might not want to view that.
You might be underestimating me. It wouldn't be the first time.
But I will
Big
take
drug companies and
suggestions.
Hospital monopolies have the best lobbies. I've got bad coffee, a half-eaten PB&J, and a sore back. The big drug companies.
It's sort of all things are true here in this situation. I mean, it's he seems to have done many things wrong. He seems to have not been entirely candid. The contents of his journal, much of it is embarrassing. I mean, I've just seen the clips of it. I haven't read it myself, but I think it's wrong for his personal journals to be leaked in this way. And
I don't, because he put it on the government server. He stuck it on a government server. Don't put your personal diaries on a government server and you work for the federal government in a political role. Because when you work for the government in a politicized role, it will be used against you. On top of that, almost every politician and lawyer know not to keep a diary, because diaries can be legally held, can be used as legal evidence against you. This is why most politicians and lawyers don't keep personal diaries. They might write a memoir later on after their career ends. Many of them do that, but they don't keep a diary, which is what he was doing. He was keeping a diary for the purposes of writing a memoir of his life once he left his position in the government. The problem is he was writing it on a government server, so I don't feel sorry for him. And plus, Fauci's an asshole anyway. And people who claim this is just a right-wing attack on him, they forget, or they never knew, because so many those folks are history illiterate. But it was the left-wing people who hated him back in the 80s. They thought he was incompetent. They thought he was a heartless bureaucrat. And if people don't believe me, they can look it up for themselves of how people on the left and liberals hated Fauci in the 80s because of how he botched the AIDS crisis. So that's all I gotta say about that.
Be private. So I think it's probably cynical and damaging to our culture to be leaking them this way, but nonetheless, it reveals something about the man and his level of narcissism and starfuckery, and just how blown around he was by proximity to celebrity. I mean, that's all embarrassing. It seems that he had, thought, in some cases, thought one thing and said another publicly about COVID or about its origins or about the effectiveness of vaccines or whatever. And so that's not a good look. Insofar as he was part of the campaign to demonize any speculation about the origins of the virus, it being from a lab versus a wet market, as racist, that I think is, as I've said since the beginning, that was just odious and dishonest and just sort of obviously counterproductive. and also incoherent. And I've said this many times, but I just don't see how you think, how really anyone can think that a lab leak, an allegation of a lab leak for a country like China is more invidious politically than an allegation of a wet market leak.
Exactly. I've said that a million times since 2021.
In the UK, in the US, and we understand that lab leaking is a problem. Having a wet market where you have pangolins on top of raccoon dogs, on top of bats, posing a perpetual risk to our species. This is just the stupidest fucking practice, practically that can be named. And the fact that the Chinese can't figure out how to stop doing this because they have such an appetite for eating these loathsome creatures, that, if anything, culturally, if anything is culturally disparaging,
that was culturally disparaging.
Pictures of Chinese people eating bats and raccoon dogs, that's worse than a lab leak, right?
Right.
So the zoonotic origin thing, the idea that this is somehow benign, that
it was not a zoonotic origin. It was just a super spreader event.
Is being a racist for speculating.
The origin was in a lab.
Lab leak. I mean, I would have loved.
Which we found out happened actually months earlier in 2019 than suspected.
Details. You know, I mean, that was. You want to look at, jingoistic comedy. I mean, that's a much richer source of it. So these are just stupid people.
Yes.
Following some other kind of woke laser pointer that got, caught their attention. And the fact that it distorted the public communication of science and
we're all doing our part to keep this part of North Carolina's coastal culture alive. I've been able to fish in different areas of the country. Here, it's one of the best, if not the best, year-round fisheries, in my opinion.
Everybody attaches to each pier on this beach for different reasons, and it's their home or it's where they've been coming since they were a teenager.
This is totally a fishing community, and the Outer Banks fishing is what people come here for.
I didn't know that Outer Banks was in North Carolina.
Nestled into the scenic neighborhoods of Catonsville, Maryland, awaits a vibrant senior living experience for you to discover.
That's like right where I live. It's early on. They said it came from people eating bat soup. That's what he's talking about, the zoonotic origin, saying that it came from a wet market, and that was just a lie. It was a lie.
Fauci contributed to that. I certainly some. I don't know. Yeah, I think the other shoe hasn't dropped yet with respect to our involvement as a country and his involvement as a person in gain of function research and specifically at Wuhan or elsewhere, and whether he was ever disingenuous about all of that. I mean, going back years, I remember Rand Paul's interrogation of him, and Fauci's rabbinical hair splitting of the phrase gain of function. That always struck me as
disingenuous,
suspicious, right? I mean, so I worried about him as a communicator of science in that moment, and that was years ago.
But I knew he was lying about gain of function back then, because I was like, he was trying to say that wasn't gain of function research, and it clearly was.
I think did an immense amount of good during the AIDS epidemic. I mean, it's just the fact that his life is being summarized in this way in the middle of the dynamics of what really is a kind of witch hunt. Again, that's not to say there's no truth to any of it, right? I mean, there's probably things for which he is culpable, but the whole thing is a mess. I mean, it's all sides to this have a point.
But a lot of people were punished for even challenging him, and you got to trust the science, and you were thrown off for even suggesting it may be a lab leak. You'd be thrown off specials.
I haven't followed what his role was in enforcing all that. I remember, Francis Collins was there's some emails that got leaked from him on this subject.
He certainly allowed it. He didn't say, "Wait a second, we shouldn't be doing that."
I mean, it's not. None of that's good because it was always plausible. So first of all,
the lab leak was always plausible. Exactly. They treated it like it was a conspiracy theory when it was actually the most likely origin.
The jury is still out, and you can.
And he suppressed other scientists from saying so.
Virologists who have a coherent case to make still for the wet market origins of the virus. Again, wet markets are so awful and so stupid, and it's an international scandal that they exist, right? So like this is a problem too. It's not like, oh, we just got unlucky with the wet market and no harm, no foul, China. No, like both are
2/3 of the world get their meat and produce from wet markets.
Has anyone ever put together a list of wet markets and labs doing gain of function in the same city to find out, how common this is? I mean, the fact
Most
that
wet
there's
markets
a
aren't selling
lab in
exotic
Wuhan,
things like bats and pangolins
how many other
and
there are different
raccoon
ways
dogs.
There are different things to
They're selling
emphasize in
things
the
like
story.
beef
Now, I still think
and
it's true to
fish
say that the first
and chicken,
cases, the epicenter around
shellfish,
the first
calamari,
logged cases is the wet market.
those sorts
it's
of
not
things.
the lab. It's not some other part of Wuhan. I think that is still true.
Pork.
Again, I haven't. This is all in the rearview mirror.
Whatever
I haven't
local
spent a lot of time
animals.
thinking about this of late, but last I looked, someone in the audience can correct me if I'm wrong, but last I looked, it is still an open question of where COVID came from, right? But the crucial thing is that it was always plausible
many intelligence
that it came
agencies,
from a lab,
including the
always
Department of
worth
Energy,
worrying
have
about. Lab
concluded
leaks
that
are
the most
something
likely
we
origin is
perpetually have to
the
worry
lab
about.
leak.
Gain of
Being that
function
there was a
research
fucking Wuhan
is,
lab of
was
virology
always worth in
right
my view,
where
avoided
at the
but
epicenter.
it just like the case for it has
It just never made sense to
me,
say
and,
it started in a wet market
again,
in the
I'm
exact
sure that
same city
there's
where there is
a
the
steel
Wuhan
version
lab
the
of
case
virology.
That,
That never
could
made
make it
sense to
seem
me.
something other than overtly suicidal to engage this practice, but it's so easy to
Like
see
if
how
this
this
was
goes
Resident
wrong,
Evil,
especially with our history
and
of
you have,
lab leaks from labs
well,
that
I
are-
forgot the name of
that are
the evil
more
company
secure than
in Resident
that one.
Evil, but if that place is right there, the epicenter of where
It's,
all
I know,
the zombies
people have
came from,
institutions, but
and then
it's
they say,
incredible
"Whoa, no, it didn't come
how,
from that. It
a
came
few bad
actually
people can
from
really,
some people
tarnish an
eating
institution. I mean, make it
dogs
very
and
difficult
cats
for people to trust these
in
institutions.
that town." Like,
Yeah,
really?
you know,
We're gonna
so-
blame this on some people eating dogs and cats, and not the people
Fauci was a
at
bad
this evil
guy,
lab
or he's a
that
bad
caused
guy.
the breakout
I
in
just
Resident
don't think
Evil.
that captures the picture accurately. Again, I don't know. I don't know what is the worst thing for which he's culpable. I don't know what that thing is.
Gain of function research. What you mean you don't know what it is? It's doing gain of function research or funding gain of function research overseas because it was banned in the United States under Obama.
Very big deal.
Two, lying that he funded gain of
Um,
function research
but
overseas with taxpayer money.
yeah. I
And
just think,
three, that very gain of function research may have caused the COVID-19 virus. Those are the three things.
Two, right? Like an innocent guy.
The Umbrella Corporation, yeah.
Could be
If
visited
you live in a city where the
someone
Umbrella
who's
Corporation
basically,
is,
totally innocent,
and that's where the
apart
zombie
from,
breakout was.
having kept a journal. Where
But then you
he's
say, oh, it had nothing to do with the
blown away by
Umbrella
being,
Corporation.
called
It didn't.
by
It was not a.
Dionne
It was not a
Warwick,
lab
whatever it
leak
was. Right,
because of what they were doing in the
Barbra Streisand, right? So,
Umbrella Corporation. Instead, it was a bunch of
I
people
think
eating dogs and
what I worry
cats.
about in situations like this are
It had nothing to do with the Umbrella Corporation.
conditions
Yeah,
where totally normal actors, with the best of intentions.
Oh, there's a new Resident
can
Evil coming
be
out
made
as
to
well.
seem like monsters.
By the way, I heard there was a
Based on
reboot of Toxic Avenger on
dishonest
Prime
process.
Video,
And
so I'm
that-
going
and
to check
that
that out
happens
after
on
I
the
get
left
off the
a
live
lot,
stream.
as we know, under the regime of wokeness, and it's certainly capable of happening on the right. Whether it's happening to some degree in Fauci's case, I don't know.
It's crazy being a classical liberal, because in the 90s, being a classical liberal had me on the left, but being a classical liberal now has me on the right.
Don't bug your boss on vacation.
I mean, I was like a liberal Republican back in the 90s.
Now everyone's down.
But,
Do we loop in legal?
Yeah, legal's
So this has to be taught.
Okay. So, What do I watch next? And again, I'm not bashing China. I'm bashing Fauci and the people who ran with that lie, including the CCP that threw their own people under the bus, saying saying that it probably start well originally they tried to blame everyone else. They tried to say it started in Africa, it started in the US, it started in South America. Like, dude, whatever. How the fuck did that get all the way? How did that break out in China, but originated in the United States or somewhere in Africa or somewhere in South America? Get the fuck out of here. CCP was just on some bullshit. And then when it was like when it became more widely accepted that it happened, that the epicenter was in Wuhan, they went with the narrative that it also started in the wet market because they didn't want to accept the accountability for the lab leak. So they were willing to throw their own people under literally their own citizens under the bus, where most people get them food from wet markets, even despite the fact that that actually sounds more racist than an accidental lab leak. Accidental lab leak is not racist, but saying people eat a bunch of exotic animals like pangolins and bats and raccoon dogs stirred up a lot of hysteria. There was a lot of Asian restaurants that closed all across America because of that shit. People saying they didn't trust Asian food because of that shit. So yeah. Dutch, do I want to go to Pearl with the hag maxing or no? I want to let's end this with something fun. Why we eat so much chicken and why I should eat some chicken after this.
Americans eat about 103 pounds of chicken per person per year.
That looks good
One
as
chicken
fuck.
every 5 days, which, if you stop to think about it, is a genuinely startling commitment
Did I have any chicken
to a
today?
single animal.
I know,
This
I
didn't
know that
happen
sounds so,
by
so
accident.
stereotypical.
It took thousands of years, a wartime meat shortage, a government-sponsored
No, I had no
cooking
chicken today.
contest, a Twitter feud,
I had
and a truly impressive
salmon.
amount of fast food, which is why today we're taking a look at why we eat so much chicken.
I would
The
have had
modern
chicken.
is a descendant of the red jungle fowl, a wild bird native to the forests of South and Southeast Asia, likely crossed at some point with the gray jungle fowl. Humans first domesticated them in the northern parts of the Indian subcontinent, and the earliest evidence of chickens living alongside people goes back roughly 10,000 years. Here's the thing, though. For most of that time, nobody was eating them. Ironic though it may seem now, when the word chicken is a synonym for coward, the chicken's original job was to fight.
You son of a...
Cockfighting was the reason chickens were kept in China and Southeast Asia. And for thousands
There's still a lot of
years, that
cockfighting
remains
in
the
Southeast
primary
Asia.
use case.
My
You
wife's
didn't eat
father
your
used to
fighter.
do
That would be like
cockfighting.
eating your racehorse. Ancient Chinese texts placed the introduction of
I eat
chickens
baked
into
chicken
China
breast.
at around
Yeah, you see,
1400
you and your
BCE,
Jim Bro stuff.
describing them as exotic
That
birds
baked chicken,
and
I
eggs.
know, I
They
already
spread
know.
westward
That's
to
you and your
Persia,
Jim,
in
you
the
and your
Middle
Jim
East,
stuff.
north into Central Asia, and eventually
The
reaching
Jim
Europe
Bros,
and the
it's the
Mediterranean.
broccoli, the
Everywhere
brown
they
rice,
went,
and
the same
the
pattern happened.
the
People
baked chicken
kept
breast.
them,
I
people
already
fought
know.
them, and people were notably reluctant.
I'm. That is the flaw. That is the chink in my armor. I I don't eat the way. I don't. I need to eat better. I need to eat better, and I need creatine. Um, I can't do the chicken breast, bro. It gotta be you know it gotta be fried or charred. I don't want baked. It gotta be fried or grilled. Now, now does shake and bake count? Because I can do shake and bake. I can do some shake and bake, but bake, And I know with the gym bros, they be like, just shut up and eat it. It's good for you. I don't care. I'm not doing it. I need it fried or grilled, um, or cut up and diced in some rice or something. I can't do I can't do the gym bro, the broccoli, the brown rice and the chicken breast. I know it's good for you, but I can't do it. He's all right. Oh, I ate ground turkey today. That's cool. But yeah, nah. I mean, I can eat it. I'm saying if I'm my preference, if someone else makes it, I'll eat it. But I won't make it for myself. I'm going to eat something fried or charred. I love a good burger. Plus, as someone who does uh violent stuff like Muay Thai and kickboxing and running, I want I want a good amount of um, dietary fat in my meals to cushion my joints and bones. And I learned that long time ago from Bill Superfoot Wallace, who was a world champion kickboxer. He used to write an editorial in Black Belt magazine. He said that he used to purposefully, like when he was out on the road, training and fighting, he would go get like a greasy cheeseburger and fries because he knew that he needed a certain amount of healthy fat in his diet to cushion his bones, his joints and bones. And when you look at uh, sports science today, that actually bears him out. Like sports science actually uh, validates what he says about having a good amount of healthy fat in your meal, in your daily meals as an athlete, because you need that to cushion you need that to produce the synovial fluid that cushions your joints and bones, as well as some a little bit. You need a little bit of adipose tissue. Like you can still have a lot of lean mass, but you still need a little bit of adipose tissue. Adipose tissue is just a fancy way in physiology of talking about fat, body fat. You need a little bit of it to cushion your bones and joints. So I enjoy having occasional, they call them cheat meals, but I can't call that cheat meal because I eat. Given a choice, I would eat it I would eat a cheat meal every day. So I can eat healthy stuff because like I used to be vegan, so I can go a long time just eating healthy stuff. But if given the opportunity to eat something bad, I will gleefully do so.
To eat them. The transition from pit fighter to dinner plate was a slow one, driven less by a sudden change in attitude and more by a gradual realization that the hens, at least, weren't pulling their weight in the arena. The earliest depiction of chickens
so that's why people eat the hens and not the roosters.
Carvings dating to around 600 BCE. The Greeks knew about them too. The playwright Aristophanes mentioned a chicken in 400 BCE, which is not the most exciting legacy for a bird, but hey, it's something. The clearest early evidence of people actually eating chickens, rather than just keeping them around, comes from the Israeli city of Maresha. Archaeologists there found chicken bones bearing knife marks from butchering, dating to somewhere between 400 and 200 BCE. Notably, the bones were mostly female, which suggests the males were still being kept for fighting, while the hens were going into the pot.
There you go, Carlton.
Had a complicated relationship with chickens. They considered the bird sacred to Mars, the god of war, which is fitting given its cockfighting origins. But more practically, Roman military culture developed a whole system of chicken-based divination. Augurs, priests whose job was to interpret divine omens, kept sacred chickens and read their behavior as signs before major decisions, especially battles. If the chickens ate enthusiastically, the gods were smiling. If they refused to eat, trouble was ahead. If they flew away, that was very bad. The whole system had an obvious flaw, namely that military outcomes don't actually correlate with chicken appetite. This apparently became evident before the Battle of Drepana in 249 BCE, when the Roman commander Publius Claudius Pulcher found his sacred chickens refusing to eat before a planned naval engagement. Rather than postpone the battle, Pulcher reportedly threw the birds into the sea. saying if they wouldn't eat, they could drink. He was right about the chickens, albeit a little cruel, but he lost the battle catastrophically anyway, with most of his fleet destroyed. The Roman Senate subsequently charged him with impiety. Oh well. Anyway, the Romans eventually got over their reverence. By around 100 BCE, widespread chicken eating had spread across Europe.
Some of us don't eat pork. Some of us don't eat shellfish. All of us love chicken.
By the Middle Ages, chicken had become one of the most common meats available, not just for the wealthy, but for most people across the Eastern Hemisphere, in various forms including capons, pullets, and hens. The bird that started as a fighter had become a staple. It just took about 9
Remember Game of Thrones when the hound had a whole fucking fight that cost him his life over some chicken?
Through most of the 1800s, chicken was actually considered a luxury. This sounds counterintuitive now, but the economics made sense at the time. Cattle could graze on grass. Pigs could survive on scraps and actual garbage. But chickens required grain that cost money, which made them more expensive to raise than beef or pork. A Sunday roast chicken was something special you served to guests, not something you ate on a random Tuesday. World War II, however, changed that equation. Beef and pork were being rationed and redirected to troops, which left a protein gap on the American table that chicken conveniently filled. Demand spiked. The industry noticed. What happened next was essentially the Manhattan Project of poultry. In 1945, Howard Pierce, the poultry research director for A&P, then the largest supermarket chain in America, made a public argument that the chicken industry had a problem. The birds were too scrawny, too tough, and took too much effort to cook for a single meal. What the country needed, he said, was a bird with a breast like a turkey's. So A&P partnered with the USDA to do something about it, and the result was the Chicken of Tomorrow contest. It ran from 1946 to 1948, with state contests feeding into regional rounds, feeding into a national final.
I remember in middle school, this guy told me his father worked for the Purdue company and said that he had to inject the chickens with drugs to make them to give them to make them more plump. I don't know if it was true or not, but that's what he told me
Each final
back in the 8th grade.
720 eggs to a central hatchery, where the chicks were raised in identical conditions on a standard diet for 12 weeks, then slaughtered, weighed, and evaluated on 18 criteria. Everything from body structure and skin color to how efficiently the bird converted feed into muscle. It was a beauty pageant for chickens, run by the federal government, with $10,000 in prize money on the line. The national finals also featured a 3-mile parade through Georgetown, Delaware, and a Chicken of Tomorrow queen who rode in a carriage drawn by white Percheron horses.
The Delmarva Chicken of Tomorrow Queen, Nancy McGee of Berlin, Maryland.
The whole thing was partly a PR campaign. A&P had just been convicted of criminal restraint of trade and was looking for ways to improve its image. But the science underneath it was real. The winner was Charles Vantris of California, whose hybrid cross of New Hampshire red hens and Cornish roosters produced a bird with dramatically broader breasts and better feed efficiency than anything on the market. The runner-up was Henry Saglio of Connecticut, a teenager and the son of Italian immigrant farmers, who had bred his family's white Plymouth Rocks into a muscular, meaty bird. Starting from a small coop he'd built out of an old piano. The two winning breeds were eventually crossed, producing what became known as the Arbor Acres line. Nelson Rockefeller bought the Arbor Acres Company in 1964 and took it global. Today, most commercially raised chickens alive anywhere in the world can trace their genetics back to those two contest entries. The effects were swift. In 1948, the average farm price for live weight chicken was 30.6 cents per pound. By 1955, it had fallen to 18.6 cents. For the first half of the 20th century, the average American had eaten 20 pounds of chicken or less per year. By 1964, that number had climbed to between 25 and 30 pounds. The Chicken of Tomorrow contest hadn't just bred a better bird, it had engineered the economic conditions that made chicken a staple.
What's up? I'm Ken Walker, professional football player. You know what I bring on the field.
I really need to start taking my creatine.
Go harder and push further.
But I'd rather take it in the gummy form than the powder form.
Performance with our game.
It makes it easier. And it's tastier.
Businesses of all sizes, T-Mobile is reinventing business internet with super broadband, powered by America's
fastest 5G internet plus Starlink satellites. Super broadband.
Remember when everyone was freaking out about 5G 7 years ago?
That's ludicrous. But I got you. Hang on. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Dogs and their humans love Dental Life. It helps clean teeth down to
CoverGirl Simply Ageless, America's #1 anti-aging foundation. Reduced.
The poultry renaissance had begun, but it didn't come without costs. The industrialization of chicken production that made it cheap and abundant also created problems that the industry is still working through. Agriculture is the second most polluting sector of the global economy, and livestock accounts for an estimated 80% of projected increases in its planet heating emissions over the next decade, according to the UN Food and Agriculture.
This was one of the arguments for
Chicken
veganism.
is significantly more climate friendly than beef. It produces far fewer greenhouse gas emissions per pound of protein, but the sheer scale of chicken production means its environmental footprint is substantial and growing. The IPCC
When I was a
has
vegan, this is
identified a shift
one of the
toward plant-rich
big
diets
arguments for
as one of the
veganism.
most effective things consumers can do to cut emissions, which is a polite way of saying that the 103 pounds per person per year trajectory is not ideal from a planetary standpoint. There are also supply-side limits starting to emerge in the industry itself. Modern broiler genetics have become so optimized for growth that they're running into biological walls. Producers can now achieve more than 1,000 pounds of meat from a single egg-laying hen's eggs over her lifetime, a 17% increase since 2005. But that same genetic push toward larger, faster-growing birds has reduced hatchability, meaning fewer chicks are available to enter the system. Reversing that trend would take years of selective breeding. The potential long-term challenge, as one co-bank economist put it, becomes how big is too big for birds on the processing line. In the short term, the industry has been compensating through value-added products, tenders, nuggets, sandwiches, which extract more revenue from each bird without
All of that looked
necessarily
delicious.
requiring more birds. But that's not a permanent solution to consistently increasing production volume. At some point, the math gets harder. There's also a global equity dimension. In lower-income countries, where food insecurity is most acute, animal proteins like chicken remain many times more
That's why
expensive
lab-grown
relative
meat
to incomes
should
than
become a
wealthy
bigger
nations.
thing. And I'm not
The very
against
places where
lab-grown meat.
doctors and
I know some people call it
scientists
Franken
are
food,
already
but
recommending eating
it could be a
less
good
of it.
thing.
The world is
I would
moving
eat it.
toward more chicken consumption at exactly the moment when many argue it should be moving the other direction.
I think lab-grown meat
By 2022,
is going to be a
global
partial
poultry
solution to
supply
food
have reached
insecurity
37 pounds
in the
per
future.
capita per year, up from just 6.6 pounds in 1961. That's a 500%.
I mean, the chicken nugget is
60 years.
practically
And the trajectory
lab-grown meat
isn't
at this
flattering.
point.
In the United States, annual per capita chicken consumption.
I mean, it's not
30
lab-grown meat.
pounds since
I would say it's
1995,
Franken
and
food
now
because it goes
stands
through
at
such a
103 pounds, according to USDA
it goes through
data.
so many
By 2030,
processes
that number
before
is
you
projected
get
to
the
reach
final outcome of the
107
chicken
pounds,
McNugget.
far exceeding American per capita consumption of either beef or pork. Globally, the supply of poultry rose from under 3 kilograms per
Plus, it would
person
lower
in 1961 to 17 kilograms
it would be less
in 2022.
it would be
while
less
beef
animal
stayed
cruelty
roughly
to have
flat at
lab-grown
9
meat
kilograms.
as opposed to
So why
harvesting
chicken
animals.
specifically? A few things are happening at once. The first is basic economics. Chicken has never been cheaper to produce, and that matters enormously. As the global population grows,
Yep, that's why my wife and I was
incomes rise
thinking
in
of
developing
purchasing
nations.
some
There's a concept in economics
chickens,
called Bennett's
some
law, which holds that as a
cows,
region
maybe.
industrializes and its
Maybe some
population
pigs, too.
grows wealthier, demand for nutrient-dense foods like meat increases. Chicken is the protein best positioned to meet that demand
Yes,
because
sir.
it's affordable to produce almost anywhere.
Yes,
China
sir.
is the clearest example, and KFC is probably the best way to see it up close.
Mhm.
When KFC opened its first Chinese restaurant in Beijing in 1987, directly across from Tiananmen Square, it was considered a novelty luxury item. A KFC meal cost the equivalent of a significant chunk of an average worker's monthly income. People dressed up to go. Within a decade, it had become the largest restaurant chain in the country, and the model it used to get there is worth understanding.
Yep.
Rather than exporting,
And it's big in
American
Japan,
men
too, like,
unchanged,
People-
KFC developed a
People
localized
give
version,
gifts of
adding
Kentucky
concha,
Fried Chicken on
egg
Christmas
tarts,
in
fried
Japan.
dough sticks, and regional dishes that varied by province. Chinese KFC locations became spacious
Not
gathering
gifts, but like
spots,
as a
open
dinner.
24
It's like a
hours,
holiday
functioning
dinner.
more like
KFC is
neighborhood
a big thing in
restaurants
Japan.
than fast food counters. Today, KFC operates more than 10,000 locations in China, making it by far the chain's largest market in the world, bigger than the United States.
Yeah.
China now eats more chicken than any other country on earth, and its consumption is still rising. Brazil tells a similar story. As its economy developed over recent decades, meat consumption followed, and Brazil now ranks
Yeah, wherever a
globally
nation
in
becomes
chicken
more
consumption, just behind the United States.
westernized,
The pattern
well, not
repeats
more
across
westernized, I was
Southeast
just say
Asia,
more
Sub-Saharan
economically,
Africa, and Latin America. Economic development,
more
rising
economically
middle class,
developed. They
more
tend to
chicken,
eat more
and its
meat.
law playing out in real time. The second driver of the rise in chicken consumption is fast food in general, specifically a Twitter beef that got out of hand. In August 2019, Popeyes launched a new fried chicken sandwich. Pickles,
Yeah, I won't.
battered bun,
Yeah.
that might have passed without much notice if Chick-fil-A hadn't taken to
That's
social
fantastic.
media to claim its own sandwich was the original. Popeyes replied with 2 words: "Y'all good?" The internet lost its mind. What followed became known as the Chicken Sandwich Wars. Within weeks, the Popeyes sandwich
And Popeyes
was
still
sold out
won because
nationwide.
Chick-fil-A
The chain received
Chick-fil-A
an estimated
sandwiches are bland as
$65
fuck.
million in equivalent media value from
I'm
coverage
sorry.
alone.
Chick-fil-A
Then
sandwiches
every
are
other
bland as
fast food
fuck.
chain in
That's why they were so
America
about,
decided
yeah, but they
they
got
needed
the
a
such and
chicken
such
sandwich
sauce
too.
and the such and another
McDonald's,
such and such
Burger
sauce or the other such and such
Wendy's,
sauce. Yeah, you need the
KFC,
sauce
Taco
because the
Bell,
damn
Shake Shack,
sandwich is
Panera.
bland as shit.
Over 20 major chains launched or
The
relaunched
Popeyes
fried
chicken sandwiches
in the
good.
following 2 years.
So is the
surge
Jolly
was so
Bees one.
intense that it contributed to an actual chicken shortage in the United States in early 2021. The chicken sandwich wars were a cultural moment, but they also reflected something real. Fast food had quietly been shifting its center of gravity
From beef to chicken. Yep.
for years.
Yep.
And the sandwich wars made it visible. Chicken tenders, nuggets, and sandwiches now anchor menus at virtually every major chain. The burger is still king, but the gap is closing fast. Whether
Yeah, I
the
still
current
love a burger
trajectory is sustainable,
over chicken.
environmentally,
My burger's
biologically,
a burger's just my
economically, is a
go-to.
legitimate question the industry
But chicken
hasn't
comes
fully
a
answered.
very
Some
close second.
analysts have suggested
But
the U.S.
my burger is
market
my
is
go-to.
approaching a saturation
My
point
go-to
where
food.
consumption simply can't
Chicken
grow
comes
much
a close
further
second, though.
without structural changes to production. Others point to lab-grown and plant-based proteins as eventual disruptors, though neither has yet made a serious dent in actual consumption figures. For now, the direction is clear. A bird that spent thousands of years being kept
It's
for
just something
fighting,
really
then centuries being kept for eggs, then
gripping
decades being eaten cautiously as a luxury
American about
has
a
become the
burger.
defining protein
Love
of the modern world. So what do you
But
think?
chicken,
And
too.
what's your go-to chicken order? Let us know in the comments below.
My
While you're at
go-to,
it, don't forget to like and
either
subscribe,
buffalo
and then check out
wings
some
or
of these
General
other
Tso
videos
or
for
General
history
Tso
food.
chicken. Those are my 2 chicken go-tos. All right. Well, I'm gonna end it here. It's about to be 8 p.m. and that's when I dip out. So, peace. Thanks, Carlton, for rocking with me again. I'm gonna go eat, and I'm gonna check out the new version of Toxic Avenger that's supposed to be on Prime Video. Anyway, peace out.